Welcome to the December 7th Town Board meeting, Town of Philipstown. Approval of minutes, monthly Town Board meeting, November 2, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Bid opening, replacement of windows, November 3rd, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We'll be discussing that later on. Public hearing proposed 2018 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. Special meeting of November 16th, 27, adopt final budget.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. We're going to forego the committee reports tonight. If anyone wants to see those, they are available in Town Hall. You can have all the committee reports you want, but we're going to get to the agenda because we have a busy agenda tonight.
Okay, the first item is the Philipstown Community Congress to present the results of their data collection.
Jason.
Jason Angel here?
I haven't seen, I didn't see him.
Maybe this is him.
That's awfully strange.
That's not Jason.
So.
There's
There it is.
Jason.
There he is.
You wanna- Welcome. We skipped the committee report.
We get that
Right,
way.
right to the mic.
We get that way.
You want a minute? No. We could do, want to do number 2?
Hello?
While we skip settle?
Do you want to settle? We could do item 2 first, or you want to take a breath, or have a glass of tea, or
Whatever you'd like to do. I can.
we'll go right in. We'll wait for you.
Okay. No.
I'll have a sip of water, stretch out a little.
Thanks for giving me one.
Look.
Thanks for thinking of me.
We do.
Thanks.
Okay, I gave you more than I have too.
Thank you.
I'm gonna run out now.
You know, I'm over here, all right?
Sorry.
Look, hey, Nancy, up here.
Over your head like, never mind.
All right.
Oh, it's Jason.
How are you? Sorry for running late. Sorry for holding things up.
Yeah, you should have heard what we were saying to you about 5 minutes ago.
The ears were burning walking in here. That's what that was.
Glad we got so many people out for your report.
Oh yeah, I knew that this community congress report back was going to generate so much interest. Very huge. There's nothing else on the agenda, I'm sure, today. All right. So really, just wanted to come in. Jason Angel, Garrison resident, and director of the Ecological Citizens Project, and an organizer of the Philipstown Community Congress, with some other community organizers, Jane Marcy and Priscilla Goldfarb, all Philipstown residents. And over the last 6 months, really, we've been running an initiative called the Philipstown Community Congress. And really the idea behind the initiative was trying to find ways to give residents of Philipstown the opportunity to propose ideas of things that they cared about to preserve and promote a strong community. And, really the whole point of it was to give people a chance to propose ideas. They didn't have to be new. A lot of them weren't new. A lot of them are things that you all have been concerned about and working on, that people in the community have been concerned about and working on. But we wanted to kind of do a public voting process that tried to find out which priorities people cared about the most in common. And that was kind of the idea, to find ways of finding the common ground in a community through that process. And so what I want to do tonight briefly is just report back to you on the results of that community-wide vote, and if there are any questions, and then report a little bit back. We had a meeting on Sunday of taking next steps to make progress on some of those ideas. So I'll just do that briefly. Just an overview, the Philipstown Community Congress hosted 3 public forums over the summer where anybody from Philipstown could offer a proposal that they thought should be a priority in Philipstown, something they cared about. 40 ideas came out of that process, and then we just took those 40 ideas and put them on a ballot, and we mailed that ballot to every resident in Philipstown. And the vote concluded October 31st, Halloween, and roughly 800 Philipstown residents cast votes in that ballot process, which we were excited about as part of a first-time effort. And obviously, that doesn't mean everybody in Philipstown had voted. You know, it doesn't. Those results don't speak for everybody in Philipstown. But it was 800 Philipstown residents, the report I put in front of you is just some of the highlights of the results. So we just really wanted to, you know, present back the results in a transparent way. Anybody age 13 and older was eligible to vote. Like I said, roughly 800 people voted, which was equivalent to about 25% of the voter turnout in Philipstown for the 2015 election. If you go through, I'll just quickly, you know, on some of these pages, about 60% of people voted online, which was an option. About 30% of people voted by a postal mail, and then about 10% dropped off ballots at Desmond Fish and Butterfield. About 42% of the people that cast votes were from Cold Spring. About 34% from Garrison, 11% from North Highlands, and 7% from Nelsonville. I actually have not been able to find good figures of kind of the population of the Philipstown broken down easily by all of those areas. I don't know if you have those figures, but we were interested in seeing how this kind of sample of who voted broke down based on Philipstown. And then one of the core purposes of the initiative was really just to kind of provide another way to allow people to engage in local community action and local government. And one of each ballot had a box on it that people could check that said, you know, I'd like to learn more about how to volunteer on the priorities I voted for. And one of the most hopeful things that came out of the process for us was that about 60% of people checked that box, which was nearly 400 people, in terms of wanting to be involved and work on those initiatives. And so briefly, I'll just run through we did a ranking of which priorities were the top priorities in the community-wide vote. If someone voted for something as priority number 1, that got 3 points. If someone voted for something as priority number 2, that got 2 points. And priority, so really it counted anybody who voted in a top 3 priority was assigned a point. And the top 10 proposals, the number 1 proposal was biking and walking paths. The number 2 proposal was clean water. Number 3 proposal was building a teen center. The number 4 priority proposal was school consolidation. Number 5 was climate smart community. Number 6 was trying to get Putnam County to share some sales tax revenues back with localities like most counties in New York State do. Rec center improvements was number 7. 8 was essential care at Butterfield. 9 was a drug czar position. I know some of you that czar, I know I don't like that czar phrasing. And 10 was an update to the comprehensive plan. And so you'll see that a lot of these things, you know, the point of this wasn't, do you have a new idea? And a lot of these ideas were things that, you know, many community groups have already been working on, and I know issues that you all have been working on. And so the hope was that this would just provide a platform and kind of create more attention given to those issues. And so just in ending, on that page 8, where you see the rank of community priorities, you'll see next to it potential volunteers. And those are, we basically counted the number of people that identified as wanting to volunteer on each priority. And so our next steps was last Sunday at Haldane, and I want to say thank you to the town of Philipstown for co-sponsoring that event, because getting insurance for Haldane was very difficult. So thank you, and some of you were there. That what we did is we've now, about 20 of the people that propose these ideas have stepped forward and said, I want to be an organizer for this initiative going forward. And all we did is match make them to the people in the community that volunteered on that initiative. And I handed out a sheet. I don't know if I kept one for myself, but what you'll see is the organizers for each initiative on that sheet I gave you, in case, because I know, some of these initiatives are things that local citizens can do alone, some of these priorities. Some are things that, local citizens will need to do in partnership with local government, and some of them are kind of local government issues. And so I just gave you a copy of who the organizers of each initiative are, because really they are the ones driving forward the initiative. In case in the future you want to reach out to them, or just so you know who they are. I think that's about it.
Well, thank you. It's a lot of useful information, a lot of stuff to digest here. Yeah, I mean, the things you said, we are already working on about half of these things in a big way. As far as the walking paths, that's a big initiative here. Clean water, we're working with Highland Land Trust on that. We did a study 8 years ago, I believe it was, 8 or 10 years ago. We had Chazen Engineering do a groundwater study for us. We've appointed Roberto Muller as the Climate Smart Coordinator.
Yep.
The Opioid Crisis Coordinator, not SAR, is that's in the works, and Councilwoman Montgomery is heading that up. As far as the comprehensive plan, Nat Prentice is already working on that and has a working group for that. So, but it's good to have help.
As far as the rec department and any of the stuff, initiatives towards the rec department, there is currently an opening on the rec commission, and this would be a perfect opportunity for one of these people to apply, the two people you appointed, to get directly involved with the rec department and the
That's great.
programming. So
That's great.
it's good timing.
That's great.
We were both on. We've had full heads of hair when we got on there.
What are you trying to say?
World is beautiful. That's what I'm saying, brother.
Well, hopefully this just helps gather momentum behind some of those things that are already in the works.
It's good to have people volunteer for things, especially for grant writing, because those are big initiatives and they take a lot of time. So we would welcome that. The one thing I would urge you to do is to make sure to include Continental Village on here, because they're in Philipstown. I see them sprinkled throughout, but just to make sure that they're to the fore, because
Maybe we can hold a meeting there. They have
it would be great
Yeah.
to have a meeting down there.
Good idea.
Because they have the clubhouse and they're open to it.
Yeah, so we should do a meeting there. We of course mailed a ballot to every Philipstown home in Continental Village.
Yep.
Didn't get as much turnout as we want, but we saw last Sunday a few people come out from Continental Village and participate in some of the initiatives, which was a good thing. But
Can't do it when the NFL is on, unless
I
you
know.
have a giant screen TV and some beer and chicken wings. But I would urge you to reach out, because we're especially sensitive to Continental Village, and Mike obviously represents a lot of people down there. So
Inclusive, yeah.
we don't
We'll
wanna
maybe
hurt
plan
Mike's feelings.
plan one of the clubhouse meetings. There's two. I can speak to Lenora, who's the president down there, about setting that up or whatever.
That's
and
great.
I'll certainly discuss it at the next meeting as well. I could even go over some of this if you're not able to go. But
that would be great.
okay.
That'd be great.
I appreciate you reaching out to all aspects of the community. I mean, when this first started, I was skeptical too, thinking, we have all of these forums for people to participate, like the town board meetings, like the rec commission meetings. Anybody is welcome to come and see at these open meetings what we are working on. But the fact is that people don't. And this created, I think, another forum where people are comfortable and to come out and initiate things that they want to see get done. And as I said at every meeting that I attended, when I heard what people wanted was, okay, but you have to do this. The town board cannot do all of this. We are working on a lot of it, like Richard said, but it's also with, the help and the initiative of many people from the community. It's a wonderful community where you can have an initiative, bring it to the local government and help facilitate it. So I appreciate that you created this alternative forum for people to come out, because like I said, people don't always or can't always come out to these meetings or the rec commission meetings. But we have all of these venues now for people to come out and contribute or speak their mind. So thank you and Jocelyn for initiating it. It was a really interesting process
The free beer and wine is always helpful too.
Yeah.
The beer, wine, and the ribs from Route 9.
Once they stopped that, I stopped
We
going.
can't do that here, so.
But they are good. They were good chances for anybody who didn't participate. They were good chances for people to be social with each other and to just kind of have an atmosphere which wasn't partisan and was just a chance to share ideas and then talk about them afterwards. So so thank you, and we look forward to continuing and making
Yeah,
progress and working with you.
Good luck
right.
in other communities if, this is something that, it's a great, it's a great platform for everybody, and it's nice to see, and hopefully you'll bring it to other communities. 'Cause
We
it's a-
are. We hope. Just as a last note, we're gonna do it in the city of Peekskill next, but then move to some other communities. And the hope is that at some point this becomes a bridge between different communities, and communities start talking across each other this way and finding out what priorities kind of are shared across different communities in the Hudson Valley. So the hope is that it moves forward in that sense.
It's a small
Yeah.
thing.
We're already working much more closely with Fishkill and Beacon. So
Great.
meet with the mayor and the supervisor in Fishkill on a regular basis.
Great.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, the next item is a resolution recommending Stephanie Hawkins to the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA.
So this would be done through the county, right?
It's a recommendation
Right.
by the county executive to the governor.
Right.
So it's done by the governor.
We would pass this resolution, get it over to the county, say
Yeah.
this is a person we'd like to see on there.
And I've already written a letter to the county executive encouraging her to recommend Stephanie Hawkins to be on the Riders Council.
right.
This is a position that was held by Neil Zuckerman, who is now an MTA board member. He's an actual voting member. The Riders Council is a sort of an advisory council to the MTA, not voting members. So this position is open for a Putnam County resident, and it's been open for a while. Neil suggested that I get on it. I'm not a commuter. I think it really needs to be held by somebody who's commuting daily and
Right.
has concerns. And Stephanie has raised a lot of concerns to me about, the condition of the train, safety, the train stations. So she certainly has proved that she, is paying attention to what's happening there. And
Right.
has lots of experience getting things done. So I recommend that we forward a resolution to the county executive to recommend Stephanie Hawkins to the Permanent Citizens Advisory Council to the MTA.
Okay, could I get a motion on that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye. I would love to see Stephanie get on there. I understand you had a good meeting with Neil.
We did, Councilman Flaherty and I met with Neil Zuckerman, who's the MTA board member, as well as Mark Mannix, who's the government relations member of the MTA, and other MTA executives, and toured both Garrison and Cold Spring train stations to talk about much-needed improvements,
Right.
engineering, bridges.
Mayor Morandi was there.
And Mayor Morandi was there as well.
All right.
So I just have to say, we do have a really good advocate for us on the MTA board, Neil Zuckerman. There's nobody better.
No, I mean, he calls me twice a month
Yeah.
about things, so. And I thought that meeting was 1 o'clock, so I was down there at 1.
Oh, I should have called you when I got there and said, where were you? Where are you?
Can't use
sorry.
my calendar.
I know, it's hard. I'll teach you how to use your phone.
Okay, thanks. Old dog, new tricks. All right.
Okay, the next item is Nat Prentice to update the town board on the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee.
Do you mind if I stand over here?
I would come to the microphone so people can,
Celia needs you on the
so
mic, sorry.
the folks at home can hear you.
You guys, hello, good evening, everybody.
How are you,
My
Nat?
name's Nat Prentice, and,
Coming out.
what'd you say?
Thanks for coming out.
Oh, sorry, Nancy, yes, you're welcome. I'm glad to be here. It's always a pleasure being with you. I want to just give you a tiny little bit of background 10 years ago, or over 10 years ago, there was a comprehensive plan written for the town. You can find it on the website, and it's worth reading because it actually reads well. It was not written by a consultant, and I see Councilman Leonard from time to time carrying it with him. It's kind of a dog-eared copy, but so I've been after this group to give it an update because it's been 10 years since we did it, and we talked about it, and then the Philipstown Community Congress came along, and I suggested it again, and here we are. We now have a up and running comprehensive plan update review group. In fact, Councilmen Leonard and Flaherty have come. Nancy has come. We've got members of the group here in the room. We're going to meet on Thursday nights, second and fourth Thursday night of the month, 6:30. Hopefully be done by 8. And here's the really good news, I think, about this effort. We've got the Philipstown Community Congress that Jason mentioned, tossing a great number of ideas into the basket. We know what you all are working on. And when we took a look to see how the priorities of these two groups met with the existing plan, it was interesting to us that the plan was well written enough to, in fact, contemplate most of these items. So I think my report back to you is preliminarily that this is not going to be, doesn't need to be a laborious task. And we probably don't need to come back to you and say we need a big fancy consultant to get it done. I mean, I think we can, within a 6-month period of time, do the updating, change the language, build out the language. Some things are just, there's a one-liner in there about sustainability. There needs to be a good bit more about that. There's not a lot of regional thinking there. It's mostly about Philipstown, not necessarily its neighboring areas. Mm-hmm. But I think in 6 months' time, we can give you a relatively short document. We need to keep working on the committee because we probably do need to have a representative of the planning board and the zoning board, or at least give them an opportunity to feel welcome at our meetings. But I think it's going to be good, and I'm happy to report that the existing plan, which I encourage all of you to read because it's actually quite readable. I think that the plan goes a long way to addressing the priorities that are now 10 years after the time of its writing. So, and I'd hope to come back regularly and give you a report on how it's going.
Great. Yeah,
Okay.
I was on the phone with Joel Russell this week on other matters.
How is he?
He's the same. I wouldn't say he's a big consultant. He's like a little consultant.
I should say that a couple of... I was a member of the group back in 2006 that wrote this, and Joel Russell was our consultant at the time. But the nice part about it, he told us that he thought it'd be better if we wrote it rather than him.
It's a well-written document. It is. I mean, the whole thing, talk about a comprehensive plan. It really did make for, project out for a lot of eventualities.
Yeah, did. Really, really good.
Yeah. And I think, you'll get to the point, well, you'll advise us as to when or if you'll need that consultant, to tie it all together.
If we get stuck
or,
and we run into an issue that we just need help on, we'll have to come back to you.
Or maybe we get to a draft point.
Yeah,
Ship
and
it off
hopefully
to Massachusetts.
I'm going to, what do you think, Lithgow? I'm going to shoot for June on that.
Wow, good.
Thank you, Nat.
Great, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nat.
Great job.
Okay, the next item is a discussion with regard to the attorney's draft of the safe storage of firearms ordinance.
This is something we looked at, I don't know, was it a year ago? About a year ago. Out of concern, obviously, about people not storing firearms safely. Today there was another shooting at a school. I don't know what that had to do with. It could be anything, and I'm not entirely sure that, this would apply to that. But it does. It's an issue that keeps coming up over and over and over. This is sort of the low-hanging fruit as far as what responsible gun ownership is about. I own guns. I keep them locked, as a practice. It's a responsible way to own a gun. A gun is, a powerful tool, and with that comes a big responsibility. As far as the responsibility of owning a gun, this is about, again, setting the bar as low as you can go. I imagine that most firearm owners in this room are already doing this sort of thing. So if we were to adopt this as a local law, it probably wouldn't impact you in any way. So Having said that, we have a draft. I know there's another draft, but we were not all that crazy about it. It was getting too specific. This keeps things pretty broad, is open for some interpretation. The one thing that Councilman Leonard did bring up on the last section, as far as penalty goes, we would want to see, or this is just a preliminary observation, every violation of this chapter, rather than shall constitute a misdemeanor, we would say may constitute a misdemeanor, leaving that obviously to a judge's discretion. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't nail down what direct possession is, because it's a hard thing to talk about as far as, if I'm 5 feet from my gun and I am in direct possession, it leaves some gray area for interpretation for law enforcement officials. Again, we're going to if this goes on to the process, we'll have a public hearing. We'll have a night where people are able to speak, and I'm sure we'll get lots of comments. Many times during those public hearings, most times, we get some suggestions and we include them in laws. Right now, I'm in favor of proceeding with something like this. I want to make that clear right now. Because I do think it's a way to educate people about things, people who may not consider this. I know people who don't consider it. Some people have guns, they don't even know where they are. I mean, they've owned them for years, and that's not the best practice. But I would open it up to the board to make any comments.
I also would encourage that we move forward with it, but I would really like to see our town attorney come to a workshop, sit down at a public hearing, and just bounce some ideas off of him, because I have some questions. Then direct possession is the biggest question for me.
Right, sure it is.
Because I don't want to take anybody's right to protect themselves away from them.
No, that's not what we're looking to do. We're looking for when somebody's not.
Right. If you're not in possession of it, you can't be in control of it. It's not going to help you, and it's not going to help anybody else.
Right.
It's only going to hurt somebody. So that's where I think we need to really clarify direct possession, if there is a way to clarify it.
Well, we can certainly run it by them.
So go ahead.
I'm the one who asked to put it on the agenda, obviously, so I'm in favor of moving it forward. The direct possession issue and the changes are questionable right now, and I'd like to see how it will play out in a workshop with the attorney. He's done a lot of work on this, I think, with the suggestions that the public will offer at the public hearing, or written suggestions that you have now even, we will get to a good ordinance, I think, and hopefully one that everybody can be happy about.
Happy?
Because, this is the kind of community we are. We appreciate that people, excuse me, I'm speaking.
No, right now, sir.
Why do people always speak over me?
Because you're a woman, and I think they can speak over you.
She's talking, so let's talk over her. It's a great community that we can have residents and groups of people who have concerns and want to see our town board work on things. So that's basically what we're doing here. We heard a lot in the last meeting a year ago. There were discussions about programs being brought to the school. There was discussion about focus on education, and can't we start, having groups go to the Boy Scouts or the school. We've had a year, and I haven't seen any of that initiated. We have plenty of opportunity. We had the Philipstown Congress. This wasn't brought to the Philipstown Congress. We've had how many school board meetings since? I don't believe that there was any initiative or educational program brought to the school board. So, we've sat with this for a year, and here we are, and I'd like to move it forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Obviously, I think it's a good point that John raises, too, about having the attorney here, because obviously I think we were also taking a look at, because we had looked at two drafts.
Yes.
And obviously the other draft discussed porches and structures that someone wouldn't necessarily live in, per se, but obviously if someone stepped out on a porch, I think we certainly seemed as though there's some favorability towards wanting to do that. And then obviously just to get a feel for the lawyer side of this, because obviously this whole gun registration issue, from what I could read of it as well, is really structured, obviously, from the Second Amendment to the states, and then each county actually administers the actual program. So just to ensure also, because I do know in some of the information that I was able to see at the county's pistol permitting process, so forth, they have taken some steps, but it's mixed as far as actually requiring safe storage and so forth. It appeared to me as though they required safe storage if you received a concealed carry permit, but one would wonder why they didn't go the extra step and require it for any. It doesn't seem to me to have a real logic to it. A weapon is a weapon. The concealed part is a different situation, because obviously that is something you take into account when someone is actually leaving a residence. So I just want to make sure also the attorney confirms with us that there isn't any conflict or problems with the county, because in fairness, when somebody's taking a look at going forward to try to purchase a weapon or whatever, they should have a clear path and not obviously have a conflict that's occurring between each one. So I think that's a valid point for us to raise and to get answered.
So I would encourage the board to make notes, so when we have the attorney here, we can make the most of our time with him. And also we'll get him our notes before that meeting. He can review that, so again, we're productive at that meeting. Come out of that with an amended draft, get it to the public, get it circulated, and then, see where we go from there.
Thanks.
Should we set a timeline or?
Do that during scheduling meetings or?
You can, obviously the board can put together their comments now. Let's get them aggregated and we'll send them to the attorney as one document. So that would be the first step. So that can be done. We're not going to do anything over the holidays, between now and the new year.
Right.
You can make your comments and do that sort of thing, but we're not going to have any meetings, until January on this. Because, people get busy around the holidays and we certainly don't want to.
And you have to get the attorney's availability to.
We got to get his availability up.
If he ever
So
respond
we'll
to
look for a
everything.
workshop sometime in January on this, and
It'll be posted on the website, it'll be posted in the newspaper, it'll be public, so anyone who wants to come to the workshop and observe what goes on at a workshop can certainly come in. If it gets to a public hearing, we will hear every person who wants to speak. Tonight, we are not taking public comment, this is a preliminary discussion regarding this law, so that's it for now.
thanks.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the release of escrow funds to Jeremy Timmons, 90 Route 301, Cold Spring. We have a letter from Max Garfinkel, which says the remaining escrow monies associated with the above wetland permit will be returned.
All right, we have this recommendation from Max Garfinkel, who is our Natural Resources Review Officer. I can't say that without thinking of Dave Klotzel. I'll tell you, it's funny. It's just really, we miss him, but we will take his recommendation. So could I get a motion on the resolution authorizing the release of escrow funds to Jeremy Timmons?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign a letter of support for Hudson Highlands Land Trust application for a catalyst grant. Excuse me. Land use planning for clear water. And this has to be nunc-pro-tunc because it was already sent out.
Right. So, again, one of the initiatives you've seen on the Community Congress was clean water. Michelle Smith of the Highlands Land Trust is heading that up. We're going to partner with them. They're hoping to get some funding on that so we can get back with Chazen, update the groundwater study in a broader way, and get back to work on that, guaranteeing, because, as is completely evident, water is becoming more and more of a valuable commodity. Always has been, but it's happening here too. So the last thing we want to do is to foul our aquifer. So at any rate,
Stairs. Just, John's gonna carry him down.
carry him down.
Think somebody needs some help. It's okay. Here.
What? I'm talking, and you get up and leave. What in the hell is going on
Last
over
month of
there?
the stairs, I didn't want anybody to fall down.
Don't make me start cussing at you, Fantastic. All week, we're not even going to make it to the end of the week. I'm telling you, we're going to be rolling around in a minute. That'd probably be the case.
Can I make one comment on this?
Yes.
You're interrupting him.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you.
The
The,
floor is yours.
no, one thing on this clean water, there are things changing around us that I think have to also be part of this magnitude. For instance, across the river, we have one town in Rockland County purchasing land in Orange County for the express use of only the water itself, and then actually shipping the water down to the other town. So this particular town, it's actually Cornwall, across the river, is in a position where they really don't have this kind of thing defined. They don't know they don't know what kind of an impact this will cause and so forth to the area, because how much water can you take? And then how does it affect the land itself? And then how does it affect the surrounding neighbors? So that's another dimension that might be something we might want to take a look at, because it could very well happen to us as well.
Yeah, and we're extremely fortunate to have a really productive aquifer here, especially in the Clove Creek
We have
area.
2 other communities already taking water from our,
Right,
from
Beacon
us.
and Fishkill.
Beacon and Fishkill
Take
already.
water from this town, so it's another thing to consider. So, in a broader sense, we should take a look at the whole town. That's the most productive area, and that's what we studied in the past. We'll update that, but definitely in full support of Michelle Smith and the land trust in this. Michelle, would you like to add anything to that?
Michelle Smith, Hudson Highlands Land Trust. I just wanted to, first of all, I just want to say thank you for signing the letter of support. What we really wanted to do was expand the water study. I know you've already allocated some funds to updating the previous water study that Chazen did. And we want to do in the expanded study, we want to incorporate Cold Springs water supply, surface water, which is all in Philipstown. And we also want to start looking at land. What's the most valuable land to, obviously we're a land trust, so we're very interested in this. What's the most valuable land to conserve for water protection purposes? And we'd also like to build a coalition, like a water coalition, encompassing all of the water issues in Philipstown. So it'll be Cold Spring, Philipstown aquifer issues, and Continental Village issues as well. And figure out who are the key stakeholders. So I know we've talked about things like, highway departments and road salt and herbicides and things like that going into the water. So who are the key stakeholders that you want to have a seat at the table in the water coalition, so that you can look at both land conservation and also land use practices that impact the water supply. And I just wanted to say thank you to the Philipstown Community Congress, because they brought forth a bunch of people who really want to volunteer in this kind of effort, including a lot of people actually showed up from Continental Village, very concerned about their water issues there as well. So I think that's great, and we'll have, we'll be able to build a coalition of all the people in the community that are impacted by different water sources, and we're very fortunate that actions today will protect our water supply in the future, and that we're not in a situation like Newburgh finds itself, where they're already developed all around their watershed and they're having a water crisis. We can actually do some things today to make sure that we don't have a crisis like that.
Right,
So
great
thank you.
points. Thank you. Yeah, and in Continental Village, it is especially concerned because when they work on the aqueduct, then Continental Village will have to find a different source of water, and we've been searching around, but they don't have a ready source of water down there, so.
We also have to probably take a look as a community, and it'll probably occur in other lake communities in this town, is septic effects. Because these communities were all done with summertime.
Yeah.
So everything, housing, planning, and everything was done based on 2-3 months a year, maybe you were using it. Now it's 12 months a year.
Right, they had an
So-
above-ground water line in Continental Village.
Yeah,
So it,
yeah.
it was never meant to become a full-time area, and now it is,
Right.
yeah. And also, you look at all the lakes that have been fouled, Peach Lake and
Yeah, I mean,
Lake Peekskill.
they are trying to do some work in Peekskill, actually. I want to try to coordinate with them, because they're actually hiring consultants and actually taking a look at trying to do something to affect their lake. Lake Mohegan is in trouble as well, so we can maybe learn some things from them as well.
Yeah, the county was fortunate at the time that they were the recipient of a large sum of money to protect the water sources throughout the county, mostly in the New York City watershed. And it's self-serving for New York City, but with good reason. But, there is a buffer around all the water that goes to New York City. We just need to protect ourselves now. So could I get a motion on the resolution authorizing me to sign the letter of support for the Hudson Highland Land Trust grant?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Next item is a discussion with regard to the bids for the replacement windows for the town hall.
So we really only received, we received two bids. One was for the windows, along one included the windows and installation. We had a meeting with the two bidders this week to see if we could separate out the two items, because as a municipality, we won't be paying taxes, so we could save some money on the windows. I think we can also get a better price on the windows, and then work with Mike Monteleone, who did the work next door, who did an excellent job on the annex, to do the install. And we're looking to do some improvements on Town Hall in general. Once we get the building department situated, and in the spring, you'll be seeing things starting to happen here. We can't wait any longer. Part of that initiative is replacing all the windows in this building and getting them functioning, getting some energy efficiency and things like that. Also looking at the appearance of the building, the functionality, all of that. But with this, we did sit down with Mike and Tom Decker, representative of Williams Lumber. They were both open to the idea. So we're going to wait to hear from Mike and then just separate them out. We're hoping to drop the top number in doing that, but we have a legitimate bid. We could just accept that, but we're trying to lower the costs so we can get more out of it. So, yeah, we did get a grant. Town Clerk Mirando did access a grant for $50,000 to put towards these windows, so we're really pleased with that.
We'll put your window in first.
Well, yeah, so far it hasn't worked out that way, but
We'll get the
We're-
mouse out too
we're gonna-
while we're doing that.
yeah.
You're going to miss the duct tape.
And that Teresa's gonna miss that air conditioner hovering over her head. But we're looking forward to getting a lot of things done with this building, because it's time. We can't wait any longer. We really can't. It's gonna turn a corner, and then it's gonna be too late.
But people are thinking that we don't care about it and we're letting it go to hell, because it looks like hell, but there really is a plan in place, and we're going to follow the plan. As you can see, the next door is started. It's almost completed. We moved them in partially the other day.
We did.
So
physically.
once the building department is out of here, it creates a lot of space for us to move stuff around in here, and the outside of the building will be repaired as well. So
We had the contractor, and he thought he was meeting us, but he wound up helping us move boxes. Thanks to Mike again. Tom Decker made like he was busy outside doing something. I don't know.
with you.
Yeah, with me. I had to follow Tom around a little
If we
bit.
don't get the dead mouse out of the wall, I might start helping you tear down walls.
Well, you could do that. You could get a fireman's axe or something. It takes about a month for that smell to go away, and then we'll have another one. Sitting there long enough, you don't even notice it.
I can smell it right now.
It's Richard's jacket.
Mike, Michael. Oh, that's funny.
I'm not cleaning his jacket out.
Hold me back, Mike.
Yes.
Mike, hold me back, would you? All right, so you'll be seeing big improvements. We have engaged an architectural firm, Highlands Architecture. They've come up with a preliminary plan for the building, and that includes an elevator, and rearranging the stairs, making better use of the space downstairs, making the building more functional, more comfortable, and more energy efficient.
And maybe an office for the town board.
Or a chair.
Oh, there's a preliminary set in the clerk's office now if you want to look at them. Yep. Anybody can look at anything, anytime.
We could probably scan that and put it in a small
I'd have to shrink it.
No more.
The floor plan, we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to miss it. All right.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing the highway superintendent to sign a property damage release form regarding road repairs to Phillips Brook Road.
This was brought to us by the highway super. It's just a piece of business that's got to be attended to. Looking at here. I imagine this is the ability to work on someone's property.
No, there
this
was
was a
damage.
repair.
Yeah, this was
Nestle water.
damage. Yeah.
They damaged the road, and it took 5 hours or 4 hours for us to repair it.
Oh,
There's a whole bill here,
I wasn't even-
2,100
So,
bucks.
yeah, he put it through the insurance, yeah, so he just needs to sign it, the release for reimbursement.
we were working at the interface of private property, public property, and our road.
Here's the police report.
I didn't
School
even-
bus.
The school bus.
I can't read it.
Operator of vehicle one stated he was attempting to move over to allow the school bus to, oh, it was our vehicle with the school bus.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, at any
It's on
rate,
highway, no injuries.
I'm not even sure what it is, honestly. No, I can,
Oh,
I can read.
You have it?
I have it here.
Wait. Rolled over down on earth embankment, causing damage to vehicle one.
But this isn't even about the vehicle. This is about fixing the town road.
Fixing the road.
Yeah. What I'm wondering is who's paying for it?
The insurance, I believe, Nestle Water. Tim Williams, Nestle Water.
See this?
I know, that he works for them. We should get a little more description from Carl about this.
Yeah, we should. Well, it's obvious that no one's clear on what it is,
I
so.
just don't see what the damage to the road was.
Well,
What do
we put item
Oh,
4
here it
down, and
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, yeah, I see a flipped over vehicle.
yeah.
Is this coming from their insurance company or from our insurance
No,
company?
there's,
Oh, all right. That's what I want to be clear on. Who's paying? So if they're paying, I'm fine with it. Because I saw on there, there was a filing to Trident. All right, so this is an invoice to their insurance company with a accompanying police report. And so they'll be paying. All right. And this is the weight, the tonnage we used from Thale.
And the hours. for
Right, the hours from the
personnel.
highway department. All this is the documentation.
That was kind of hard to find about what insurance company was paying.
Our claim.
It is our claim. Try and claim knowledge insured.
See, here it's saying
For the claimant and the insured.
town, yeah, town of Philipstown. I mean, this is a,
Talk to Carl, I think we should table it.
yeah,
Talk
because
to
this is a
Carl.
no, I mean, it must be something to do with no fault, because it doesn't look like they're paying.
We
It's
could
like,
talk- we could-
because I see Trident Insurance, that's our insurance company.
We could approve it Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Yeah, all right.
Workshop. Don't look so happy about it.
Well, we could, we're not,
Send a deputy.
we're not having a workshop next Wednesday.
Oh, no.
It's Christmas.
I thought we were going Christmas shopping.
We are going out together. I don't want to hold him up,
he gave it to me last minute and, asked me
yeah,
to get this on.
but I'm just wondering,
Can you
I mean,
pass-
it's our insurance company, it's not their insurance.
It happened
We're the
on
claimant.
Halloween, so I don't think there's a big rush to do it.
And our vehicle caused the damage, if you can see.
Is that our truck?
I think that's our, yeah.
It's our truck on its side.
No, it wasn't.
No,
No,
That's
oh,
not our-
it's not our truck, honestly. Because I
That's not
called
our truck?
No, I don't believe it was our truck.
Well, let's table this until we can get some more information. Motion to table item 8,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. I'll talk to Carl tomorrow. All right.
the next is to schedule the workshops. So I have the year end, December 27th at
I'll
7:30.
be digesting my dinner.
I want to go to Vermont.
You can go. Go ahead.
I'm supposed to go into Stowe.
All right, so we're going to be meeting December 27th for year end. January 4th for the reorg, which is prior to our regular meeting, so we'll meet at 7. I love the reorg. I know I say it every year, but there is nothing like a reorg. Monthly town board meeting, January 4th, 2018 also. So that'll round out the holidays nicely. A couple days after Christmas, a couple days after New Year's. Get you right back in the game.
No break.
No break. No rest for the weary. So I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Go away for Christmas or something.
Okay, the next
away from
item
home Christmas.
is the code enforcement monthly reports.
He collected some money.
Fees collected $43,601. 29 permits issued, 1 new 1 or 2 family dwelling, 1 commercial building, 6 addition, alterations, and repairs to residential building, 21 additions, alteration, or repairs to commercial buildings, 31 COs issued, 1 stop work order issued, 2 inspections of public assembly, 2 inspections of commercial occupancies. Projects of significance was Cold Spring Farm, a horse barn, Phase 1 Vineyard Lane, Rockman, Burquest Family Compound, Old Albany Post Road East. Now we have the report for the Village of Cold Spring. He collected $2,223. 7 permits were issued. 3 additions, alteration, or repairs to residential buildings. 4 all other permits, pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc. 4 COs issued. 1 stop work order issued, and 1 inspection of commercial occupancies. So the fees collected to date is $17,520.
That's a 5-month period.
No, it's monthly.
No, from June 1 to
Oh, from
November
Cold
30th.
Spring? Oh, that's for the whole
Yeah.
period, that's what,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah,
took
yeah, yeah. Well, our thanks to Greg Warner, he's just been super with the renovation, also with the consolidation with the Cold Spring Building Department. I know they're happy. We're looking to add a staff member down at the building department. We're gonna have another inspector. We reached out to the county, see if they had a surplus vehicle. We're gonna search around for a surplus vehicle. They said they would keep their eyes out. There's other avenues for that, but we will find one when we get this new person.
Could I add one more thing?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we need to amend a resolution releasing the escrow funds for Lady Blue Devil Lane. We did that last month. The letter came in from the clerk, which stated Ladies Blue Devil Lane, but it should have been Philipstown Square. So if we can just amend that.
So could we amend the resolution for the release of escrow with the wording, I guess, Philipstown Square rather than Lady Blue Devil Lane?
Just a different property that they own. So
Also move on that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. No, probably not.
Oh, okay.
Probably not. We'll set them up. Anything else from the board?
There was one incident in town. You guys are all aware of it. There was another accident in front of the S&K Fuel or the Gulf Station at the intersection of Route 9 and Fishkill Road. It's the second time we've had a gas tanker attempting to back into the parking lot and be hit broadside by a car. They've been warned numerous times. Nancy, you've been there. I've been there. I believe the rest of the board's been there. The building inspector's been there. The deputy building inspector has told them you can't be backing in. So the other night it happened again. According to the deputies that were there, they could not ticket because there's no sign that says you can't back into there. There is a problem that they're not following their site plan. So the building inspector went to the site the other day and he's told them that you need to follow your site plan or your site plan will be pulled and you're going to have to start over again. So they've committed to having a driver meeting. They're going to bring all their drivers in, sit them down and tell them, look, you can't back across the road. twice. I mean, I was there for the first one. I wasn't there for this one, but the truck was across the road. A car came down, missed the valves, and hit something under the truck, and not the valves, thankfully. Otherwise, I think it's 6,000 or 7,000 gallons of gasoline in that truck, so would be going down the road, and the aquifer would be really polluted. So, Greg has been on it. The fire department's working on it. We're hoping to work with the sheriff's department as well to get them to support it, that it doesn't happen again, because it's a catastrophe waiting to happen. So.
I spoke to the sheriffs that evening, and then Lieutenant McManus called me 2 days ago to open it up again and talk about it. I mean, the problem is, apparently, and I'd like to see it, is it's not a violation to back a tractor trailer filled with gas off of 9
Unless
into the
we
site.
make it a violation as
Well,
a condition of the site plan.
For us, it is a violation. We can pull their site plan, but for the sheriff's perspective, there's no
Right, it's not a law.
that they're breaking, unfortunately. But if we can, work with the sheriff's department, and I don't know, New York State DOT has to have flaggers when they're having workers on their road. I'm just
And it
really
happens
surprised
at
that
rush hour. It happens.
They
at
deliver
2 in the
twice a
morning.
day.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. It's not like
Yeah.
it's a once in a while occurrence. It happens regularly.
So this would be a great opportunity to introduce our new sheriff. I've been remiss all evening. We have Robert Langley here. Congratulations, Bob, if you want to come up to the microphone. I know you love that after the whole campaign. Nothing like getting, yeah.
But you showed up, Bob. So, Sheriff.
Start off by saying I'm not a politician. I'm not a public speaker.
We aren't either.
For the deputy to say there's no ticket he cannot write is actually inaccurate.
Okay.
Okay, number one, if they're blocking Route 9, which I've seen them do,
Right.
they need to have traffic control out there to control the traffic.
Right.
Okay, it's just the same as when the tree cutters are out there and they have a safety lane and they have the traffic control out there. It's nothing different. The second thing is he's backing unsafely. He's creating a public hazard. There are summonses that could be issued, and that will be addressed.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
They were, very resourceful and helpful and willing to work together. So I'm looking forward to finding a solution, because it's been going on since they had their site plan approval. Let's just ignore our site plan.
But nothing gets somebody's attention like a couple of tickets.
Yeah. And a new sheriff in town.
That's right.
They're like clockwork, usually around the same time.
Yeah.
There's the red and white car sitting there, and
Yeah, probably won't happen.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anything else from the town board?
No. I mean, yes, but no. I've been working really hard.
I gave a call to Fred Penna, the county highway super, about the intersection of Fishkill Road and Route 9. In that general vicinity, that sort of wall going up to, that is Fishkill Road as it enters Route 9, something has to happen there. It needs to be tapered a little more gracefully, because it's just a bad intersection all in all, and that's not adding anything of value to it. Fred said he would look into it. His initial reaction was, well, that's a state intersection, but Fishkill Road's a county road, so, and they did that project. I think that section road has sunk.
settled or something.
Yeah, it's settled, because it wasn't like that in the beginning. There was a little bit of declination there, but now it's just a hazard, and everybody who goes there has to stop and ease up onto the road, which is okay if it's a driveway, but it's not okay if it's entering from a county road to a state highway. That's just not acceptable. So I'll follow up with them. He said he was going to get back to me, and we'll be writing a letter in support of whatever effort they want to take, and meeting with DOT.
These are things that we could bring up at the Putnam Traffic Safety Board meetings, which
next
Thursday. I'm
Yeah,
not sure
please,
if we'll go,
by
but-
all means, please do.
Whatever happens with that board in the future, but, there are a number of issues in town that have been brought up, and they're still on the agenda.
Yep.
So we'll just make sure that, along with the tractor trailer with the gas, is
While we're on roads, since I don't have a highway report, we need to report about the Manitou Station Road being
Oh,
right.
raised up. Would you
Take a
like to
bow.
go ahead, or?
Yeah,
take a bow.
we've been trying to do a project down at Manitou Station for about 5 years, going through a process with any number of state agencies, DEC, DEP, Office of Parks and Recreation, Putnam County. Initially, we had reached out to Metro North and Putnam County to see if they would partner with us. The answer was no. So in the end, we took the project on ourselves. what we got recently, after 2 years of back and forth with the New York State DEC, was a permit to go ahead and do the job. So our highway department went down and raised the road up a foot, 2 feet, 2 feet.
Plus, it's like 26 to 30 inches, he's saying.
Right. So we have a plan for a permanent fix, but this is going to help out dramatically down there. The road was flooding on a regular basis. The residents down there couldn't get in or out. With winter coming on, it was a bad situation, getting worse. So our hat is off to Carl Frisenda and the Philipstown Highway Department. Got in there and within 2 weeks had the project done. We figured it was going to take about 4, but they really planned it out well. We've had plenty of time to think about it, but when you get in the field, generally it's a different animal. So they really hit it hard and got the initial phase of it done. So the road is raised up 2 feet, the flooding has abated, and people can get in and out safely. And we're looking forward to working more on that, improving that roadway. But the initial costs we'd gotten for bids were just so high that we took it on in-house. We did save up some money over the course of that time each year so we could address it. So I'm hoping that the residents of Manitou Station are pleased with that effort. And again, our thanks to the Highway Department.
Absolutely. And there will still be times that it's inaccessible because 2 feet is probably not going to do it at all. But it'll eliminate 95 or 98% of the times that it is flooded because usually it's a foot of water. Now we're 30 inches above that, the old
Right,
roads.
and we'll be doing more down there, but
But the road continues to sink into the mud.
right, there's a lot of peat under the road. Over the years, it just goes down. They drove test borings down there. They went down 40 feet, nothing there, just kept going. So,
It's an extremely difficult situation. Carl was explaining it was like working on Jell-O, top of Jell-O.
right.
Because you've got the wetlands on both sides and the Hudson's right there, so it's
right, so
It's-
they start to vibrate it, down it goes. So, but they did a terrific job, I do have to say, so people should be pleased. We are, and completely within budget, so we're happy about that.
While we're on Garrison, do you want to put post office, which the Garrison post office issue is still, 3 years later, a big issue. There's no resolution. The traffic going in and out of the post office has increased. They've partnered, the USPS has partnered with Amazon. So any of those issues that were a problem 3 years ago still exist. Looks like with the talk of the Butterfield post office, that's not going to happen. They're not going to do deliveries out of there, just retail. So there has been no solution. Town board has picked it up. We're addressing it. I have a congressional liaison that has submitted a letter basically saying we don't have to comply with any codes in the town. We do what we want. We'll do everything within your best interest to make sure that people get their mail on time. But as far as use of the property, lighting, traffic in and out, early morning deliveries.
Trucks running nonstop.
Running nonstop. It's a real nuisance for the people that live behind the Garrison Post Office. So that was the last I heard from the United States Postal Service. I have a meeting with Congressman Maloney's office next week, and this is certainly going to be the priority.
Well, thank you.
Is that still the case when they don't own the building? I mean, they rent that building.
Yeah.
So it's not a federal building. I
Right,
mean,
that's a
they could
big-
be inside, because in fairness, they could be inside of another complex with other businesses.
Well,
So,
now that Amazon has partnered with them, that's not a federal company.
right, so, yeah, I'm not
there are a
so
lot
sure,
of-
maybe
I
this is
think
not,
there's-
to where it's federal, hands-off totally.
Well, and just regardless of the fact that we're the federal government, just as the town is the town, and sometimes we don't have to comply with codes. It's just, the neighborly thing to do.
Right.
This is the code within this area. This is why, because people live here. You've created a great nuisance, and, we've opened the conversation. There's been no result, so now we just have to figure out how to take it the next step. The neighbors would like to see the operation. They love that the retail is there, that they're able to drop their mail off and pick it up, but to have the distribution center there, it's not the right place for a distribution center,
No,
not
it's
for
not.
Amazon, not for the U.S. Postal Service.
That's pretty
So-
much like a soft business area.
Yeah,
really.
I don't know what the discussions were with Butterfield. I thought distribution was going to happen there, but now apparent. Well, okay, but originally that was the solution for Garrison, was because of Butterfield, and that was the push and why Butterfield was advocated for.
When the post office left Cold Spring and went to Garrison, it would never come back. I said that from the very beginning.
Well, they still have to be respectful of neighbors. I mean, it's a residential area that people deserve a residential quality of life. That doesn't include getting up 3:30 in the morning because you have a tractor trailer with the lights on and the motor running outside your house 5 nights a week. It's not fair. And I mean, we have a lot of residences within close proximity there, so thank you for your efforts on that.
Trying.
Something, obviously, it's going on quite a bit in town, but it goes to a bigger issue, and that is maybe we should have a discussion next year about the town's cell towers overall. We have the this Nelsonville and our Philipstown Planning Board Conservation dealing with specific tower usage, but the comprehensive plan only really covered a couple of lines in it, really doesn't get into a lot of detail, but that was over 10 years ago. I think maybe we as a town and maybe the villages would want to join, because some people have actually expressed that to me, that we discuss cell towers overall in the town.
Oh, it's a
You know,
great
That
idea.
could be, I mean, something we can look at with the comprehensive plan update and address.
Right,
That's a land use issue that,
The current plan is silent.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't say much on it.
The RF engineer that was at our last zoning board meeting actually said that it's going from 4G to 5G now, and 5G will actually require more towers because of the signal. So he said you really need to look at your comprehensive plan and your zoning to make sure that you're ready for it, because
Well, let's get on it then. I
there
mean-
will be a push for more towers with 5G.
consultant now to
Yeah, it'd be better to get that sooner than later. If we could get somebody who's a good land use lawyer who specializes in cell towers, that would be helpful. So I don't know if you want to look into that, Mike?
Sure.
All right. Anything from the audience? Yes, sir.
I got a quick question.
Yes.
Can you
Mike
vote?
was at a CDPOA meeting, and he was talking about some road work, talked about Winston getting paved, which is great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But you also brought up Aqueduct Road, fixing the drainage in front of my house. Where Aqueduct and Morris meet, constant floods.
Yes.
That's been going on for probably the better part of 11 years now.
Is that there's like a dip?
Well,
Yeah.
the long and short of it is, they used to drain it into the pond.
Okay.
When they put the curbs up, they cut that off. So now, the pipes actually go this way. So they moved the drain that was on my front lawn into my neighbor's driveway.
Right.
The one that's in front of my house sunk about 10 inches, and they put a cone there for about a year, one of the big yellow barrels. And they tried to fill the pothole in, because there was a big hole there. And if you go there right now, there's a huge puddle there. And approaching the winter months, that freezes and becomes a skating rink. My kids catch the bus right in front of my house. My neighbors bring their kids down, so it's easier for a bus driver to just pick up a bunch of kids in one spot.
Are you available this week during the day? We can talk to Carl and
I'm actually off tomorrow.
I'll give him a call,
so,
because I'm working in that area as well, so maybe we can get Carl.
17 Aqueduct, I'm right on the corner, so I'll be there all day.
Do you want to give us your
Sure.
his contact
It's
info?
Eric Vogel, ERIC.
Afterwards.
Oh,
Or you
okay.
want a piece of paper so you don't have
Sure,
to
I'll-
stay through the whole thing?
That's all right, no,
Okay.
it's all good.
Thanks for coming. Sorry you had to.
No, it's not, I was here for other reasons too, it's just, that was, I know you mentioned it, and so it kinda stuck in my head, because that was, my next door neighbor's been talking about it, and, actually, everybody in the right area right there.
Well, you're in the right place. I mean, this is a place to bring it up, and we'll make sure it gets addressed.
Yes.
When we had the hurricane and FEMA was here, they talked about fixing the drainage on Aqueduct Road and going up Morris.
They talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that water comes down the hill and goes right into my garage. So, I got pictures of, I do a lot of woodworking, and, there's times where I have 1.5 inches of water in my garage.
Sorry to hear that. Well, we'll try to help out.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Anything else from the audience?
Hi, good evening. Craig Waters, Garrison. I know there's a lot of conversation coming up about the firearm thing. I'm curious about the reconciling the second, New York State Constitution that says no local law that supersedes state law. I would assume that that has been taken into consideration. I would be curious to know how you've reconciled that as we move forward and address that aspect. I mean, I'm going to be opposed to it on encroaching on freedoms, but I think that's a good place to start that isn't antagonistic. It's just like, how is that a problem? Because if there's a conscious decision to, I mean, you know, District Attorney Tendy was here a year ago, spoke specifically about the illegality of it. I mean, if
That's
I
his
were,
opinion.
Right.
I get it, no problem. I mean, and I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, as I look at it,
And
it
we had a
certainly
lawyer
appears to
look
be.
at it,
Yeah.
and he's aware of that. I don't
Sure.
think he would forward
It's been adopted
something
in many municipalities, including Westchester County. all of
I'm aware
Westchester
of that
County.
as well. I mean, I don't think it's not asking a lot to have that,
No, we would definitely
elucidated
take that
to,
into
so that we can,
consideration.
have a real clear understanding of how we got to that point, and then other
That's why we're gonna
issues
have a
are.
workshop with the
Right.
attorney.
Yeah,
We
no,
said
I know.
that
It's
earlier,
got a
too.
lot coming on, a lot more conversation coming, but I
Oh,
mean, if it's, and also in the, in the Division of Local Government Services, conducting public meetings and public hearings, since there's a public hearing coming up, it makes recommendations on procedures, and one of the things that I think is, a couple things that are, let's just skip to the one I think is the most important, determine the need for expert witnesses. So if we're going to have a public hearing about this issue, it recommends, determining whether or not there is a need for expert witnesses. You have it in the legislative body to determine that there is not, which I guess would mean that someone speaks as the expert, but I would encourage our elected officials to follow that guideline and thing where it says determine the need for expert witnesses, and looking forward to these conversations as we go forward. So I'd just like to submit these two documents. One is the New York State Municipal Home Rule, Article 2, Section 11.1 about the legality, and the other one is the
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, on many occasions, we have, on other issues, other laws, we've brought in experts for testimony. During the zoning, obviously, that was a big initiative. We had lots of expert testimony during that. So, yeah, we'll consider it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would go a long way to diffusing a volatile situation here, and I think, fact-based
doubt it,
evidence
but-
is, well, I mean, if at least everybody's at least going, I mean, if it's well represented, then everyone at least,
Yeah, it's
while they
outreach.
might not be happy with the freaking end result, at least it feels like it wasn't railroaded, right?
Oh, yeah,
So-
yeah, no.
I have faith in the residents of this community to always stay in control. What comes from outside, we don't know.
Well, I mean, it feels like activism legislation, right? It's not really something that stemmed from issues in our community, and this is like, there's a lot of things that we have no complaints around, but it's the activism part of things like this that really kind of gets under people's, gets under their craw a little bit.
It must
As
be the
far as-
only thing that gets under their skin, because it's the only time we see this group.
And
It's,
as far as
you don't see them.
railroading it, the fact that it was here for a year and there's been, no
more.
activism from this group either, as far as the ideas that came forward back then. So this is why we're ready to move it forward. It's not railroading it. We've been sitting with it for a year. And, we've taken this month, we're gonna have a workshop, we'll have a public hearing. So I don't, you can say railroading, but that's not what we're doing.
I think, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Residents of this town raised this issue initially. So,
Sure.
So I don't, I don't think you should say the board initiated
Well, right, I
this.
mean,
That's not-
clearly,
that's not accurate.
right? I mean, but I'm just, and
And
then
that's
I.
true with some other issues that have come up as well.
Yeah, I mean, I
and-
defend forever, like anyone's ability to petition their legislature around whatever they want. That's fine, no problem. But I also would expect the wisdom of the legislature to, put a halt. Like if I wanted to pass around a petition, everybody gets a pony. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be having these workshops and hiring attorneys to draft resolutions on them, right? At some point, this legislative body says, no, this is nonsense. We're not going forward.
This isn't one of them.
Okay, fine, no problem.
but,
But,
I mean, that's the other thing
It's a
we're
public
a little
safety.
frustrated with. As great as the community Congress idea is, we're open for business.
We're here.
People we say this to people all the time. If you have an issue, you contact the town board. You can have a Wednesday night workshop on your issue with the town board. The people who,
And
can take action on
We
it.
did have one with this group
Yeah,
a
we
year
do.
ago.
The community Congress came in, had a.
I got a quick question though. We have the, great information with the community conference.
She wants you to
We
go
got-
up there.
sure.
Edie.
James? Jason, sorry, Jason. So Jason got this community congress together.
Yep.
And asked the community, what issues are coming forth? What do you want to see resolution? What do you want to see worked on? And how many did we have that came in? 800 people replied, and there were what, 40? Did you say 40? 40 ideas. 40 ideas. Was the Safe Gun Act one of them? That was not one of them. So if this is such a pressing issue, and we had this go out to the community, and you said that it was brought up by the community, why wasn't it on there?
It's a fair point.
So,
It was brought to us by a group of people.
John, I completely agree. I understand it.
It was brought and well established, and we had already gone through 2 workshops before the Congress
I was
was
here.
even initiated, a year before that. So it was on the table well before and drafted and worked on before the Congress, unlike
Understood.
many
So-
of the other things. So my point with that too, and I said it before, with the community Congress, where was the initiation to establish education programs for gun safety? All those things that came up in that workshop that we had with the group that wanted to address this. We've had a year of community Congress, school board meetings. No initiative was brought to those places. So
Nancy, I
here we
understand
are.
what you're saying, but I could play devil's advocate and say the same thing, that during all these people that responded to this wonderful questionnaire, where was the outpouring for gun safety?
Yeah.
New York State enacted in 2013 some of the strictest gun safety laws. So this law was already found to be unconstitutional, not in the present form that maybe you guys are putting forth, but it was fought and thwarted in Dutchess County. I may be a little hayseed. I grew up on a farm. Chickens, ducks, cows. All right, so listen. I'm having a hard time reconciling something in my head.
We're
That
not taking your hayseed or your guns
Hey,
away. We're
so-
just asking you to lock them up.
when we at that CVPOA meeting, you talked about that, and I know you guys are aware of it, that septic system issue, right? And now we're talking about water safety and preservation, and that it's really important. I recall you talking about you weren't going to waste the taxpayers' money because the Putnam County Board of Health determined it was their responsibility.
Well, we've had
Hey.
cases that
Yep,
determined that
well,
as well. Yes.
And your exact words were, we're not going to waste taxpayers' money because we're not going to fight a battle. We're going to lose because they said it's their jurisdiction to say that it's going to create an undue hardship on this resident to replace the entire septic system or just fix it, right? So that sewage, that raw sewage is leaking in, not into our groundwater, but into that lake that my kids swim in,
Well,
that many of our kids swim in, okay? So what I'm saying is that you're not willing to, I don't want to say waste money, but that was your terminology, on that battle. But the last time we were here, it was brought up saying that this could be unconstitutional, there's going to be lawsuits. And Nancy, your exact words were, we get sued all the time. So I'm just trying to reconcile in my head, how do you guys determine what's worth wasting the taxpayers' money on a lawsuit?
I would answer that by saying I had multiple conversations with the property owner who was being impacted by this. Called the Putnam County Board of Health to get their take on it. We've gone to court with the Putnam County Board of Health over issues exactly like that, where we feel like we have home rule jurisdiction. We went to court and we lost. We lost in a hearing with Eric Zidens at the county. And when it's settled case law, you can't even get standing to go back again to have the same exact argument. They'll just look at it and say, we just settled this. And this was within the last 2 years. This isn't an old issue. But it's not to say that we don't look out for the public health. We also, Putnam County, they have that jurisdiction. That is within their jurisdiction as established by law, that they established septic systems and SSDS, solid system disposal. So as much as we have fought for that right, we've been denied. So it's not that we're maybe it was bad wording, but we have fought those battles. We know that if we go back in, we'll lose.
You're going to lose.
Yeah, because we've been in front of this judge.
So
The
my
judge-
concern is, are you prepared to go to court for this as well?
Well, any law needs to be defensible. When you propose a law, it's got to be defensible. So that's why you have attorneys. And we're a ways down the road. We're not even, we have a proposed law. We haven't even had a workshop. We'll have a public hearing. And hopefully we can come to some accommodation with everybody. What we're really asking is for responsible gun ownership. We're not looking to take away anybody's rights. Look, as I said, I'm a gun owner. I've been a hunter my whole life.
As am I.
We're both
So am I.
born here.
Right.
So,
48 years old, been hunting all my life.
yeah, we understand the issue. But some people don't, and they own guns.
And it goes to the same, standard. Is it this group's initiative to, no matter what we come up with, to sue us? Is that how you're going into this?
Nope. I'm looking at it this way. I look at this initiative as the only people it's going to affect is going to be responsible gun owners. All right.
But how, it's
Eh,
not gonna,
well-
and as a gun owner, I don't see how it's gonna affect anybody. And
Well,
it's,
that's a difference of opinion. That's your
Right,
opinion,
absolutely.
correct?
And
that's
there's no violation
Just like
of
the
anybody's-
DA had his opinion in the law. So we'll differ on that. Okay.
the DA
So my question is, how do we enforce this law? Who are we going to burden this on? We don't have a police force here. Are we going to? I know for a fact if we ask the state troopers, they're probably going to laugh at us. So do we have the Putnam County Sheriff do it? And how do they do it?
Anybody laughs at a law. It's a law. It's a
How
law.
do we enforce
It's-
how do we enforce the hosting law that we have in town? Like, are we going to go into your house to see if you're giving alcohol, or even if you're not home and your
Exactly.
15-year-old
You're
is
going to
drinking?
wait. It's when something happens.
it's when something,
Right?
So we
or
have
something
these
close,
laws.
it's something close happening.
But also as to raise the point of awareness. To hope that through this initiative, that we don't have something happen. And that people do take it to heart and say,
And as
well,
for
you know.
somebody who sits up here, I'm not going to live with the fact that if something does happen and I had an opportunity to stop it and I did nothing, I'm not living with that.
What happens if
So-
it goes the other way?
How's it going to go the other way?
How's it going the other way?
I'm not taking your way. I don't care if you sit on your couch and you look like Rambo with a 50 caliber strapped to you. If you're and I'm looking at you, I said this guy's a responsible gun owner. But when you leave your house, lock your 50 caliber up. That's my point.
But do we need a law to state that?
For some people, do you need a law to say you
Because
shouldn't?
the criminals aren't going to do it.
You shouldn't drive
They're gonna-
over
they're gonna
65.
disobey this.
There's a speed limit. Why do most people are smart enough to control their vehicle, but not everybody. Why do we have DWI laws?
Yeah, I think we're going too far afield right now, too, as we
Yeah.
said.
No, I didn't want to get. I didn't want to deep dive into this because I know we're going to have a workshop.
Now we've gone way
So,
into the weeds.
yep. But
with,
so if we can, we'll talk tomorrow about the
Absolutely.
aqueduct, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay.
No problem.
Hi, Lithgow Osborne.
You are Lithgow Osborne.
I'm still Lithgow Osborne. I just want to clarify something about the Philipstown Community Congress.
Yes.
They had 3 of them. Everybody was allowed to bring a proposal. It was those proposals that were brought to the Community Congress which were eventually voted on.
Right.
So there are other ideas floating around with you, with everybody else, that weren't voted on with the ballot that Jason sent around.
Right.
Because they weren't presented at the,
Safe storage was brought up during the whole process, too.
yes, but not at the Community Congress.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it was?
It was, but it wasn't
Wasn't voted on.
something. Well, like Lithgow said, there are a number of initiatives that didn't
Didn't make the cut.
make the cut. But for
Okay.
example, I was there Sunday at the table with the MTA initiative.
That's not true?
Oh, no, well, it's not true. Any idea that was presented at any of the forums
Made
made
the
the
cut.
cut. There was no editing of any idea, so
It's all
anybody
there.
who presented an idea, they added up to 40 and they all went out.
It's just
Right,
Jason
but these
wants
are the 10 that,
priorities.
they're the priorities.
Yes, those are the ones that reached that level. yeah.
Right.
So I'm working on one, for example, that's not one of the priorities yet. I'm taking input and I'm gathering people together to, deal with this initiative that I have. So,
Okay.
yeah, to your point, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good input. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, Kim Connor, Cold Spring, North Highlands. So I believe that site plan for SNK includes some kind of restriction on the hours when they're allowed to bring those trucks in. Mike, I think you were on the board then, didn't we do that?
Yeah, oh yeah, and they were, clearly, they told us right off the
Yeah,
bat,
night.
they weren't
We
gonna
told them
back
they were gonna-
into
yeah.
the
And I think
road
they were supposed
because
to
that
bring
was
them only
clearly
in at
seen
night.
as a problem.
Both of these did
So-
happen. One was a Sunday. It was dark. I don't remember the time. And
Yeah.
this one was also Sunday evening, and it was well after dark, so probably 9, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. So anyway, the site plan should give you some.
The
Yeah,
problem is
reason
they had-
the reason they have to deal with this issue is because you remember, we were very clear that that truck should be going around the back of the
Yes.
site. They pleaded with us because of the bay openings in the rear and the need for employee parking in the rear to allow them to operate in the front, but not to create any kind of a road potential problem on the road. So they have to deal with that, without a doubt. I remember that.
The problem was there
So-
was another tanker parked in the backyard, so the truck couldn't go around
And that's
the
a
building.
violation too, because in the site plan it says you can
And
only
then
have one.
the driver
Right,
told
yeah.
Greg that he pulled in and he couldn't get around the back of the building and he backed out, which was an absolute lie because the truck, the cab of the truck was in Harold Lyons's and the trailer was across 9, both times.
Yeah.
So
Lying.
So there should be teeth in the site plan.
Yeah.
So that's-
there is.
Should be, yeah. Yep. We should violate them,
Okay.
and the sheriff should ticket them. All right. Anything else? Vacancies. We have one vacancy on the Recreation Commission, as was mentioned earlier.
We have another one, too. We have the resignation of a member of the Continental Village Water District, so that's going to open as well.
That's not until January 1st.
Okay, right, okay.
Well, we can advertise ahead of time, have that
Yeah.
spot filled.
Was that what you want to discuss it for the next 15, 20 minutes?
Jesus.
Jeez, is there anything else we can do here to prolong the agony?
You're gonna go again.
God almighty, please help me. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Highway.
So moved.
Second. Hello, somebody there? We're giving-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continental Village Water District.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Aye, aye.